Hello, welcome to the Gamers. Today we're doing a new thing.
We are.
We are going to be doing a retrospective and our thoughts on the Final Fantasy XIII series.
Yes, we are.
With gameplay.
With gameplay. And hopefully this will become a new series of ours where we go over some of our favourite games of the past 1,000 years. They will include backgammon and chess as well. So we'll cut straight to it.
Yeah, but let us know what you think of the series.
Yep.
Yeah,
Cut.
here we go.
Yeah, so here we are with Final Fantasy XIII.
Guten Tag. Yeah, so as you may have heard, because that was the cut, and now we are here right now, this is our retrospective on the series. So this is going to be 13, 13-2, and Lightning Returns. So, Aidan, what are your thoughts on this game?
Okay, so let me just start by saying that this was the first experience I ever had of a Final Fantasy game, believe it or not. I'd had the 360 and I was looking for a game to overwhelm me with graphics and gameplay length, and this was, I saw this, I got it, and I fell in love with it. I mean at first, admittedly, with the storyline it was a bit convoluted, what's going on, but by the time you reach here, chapter 13, and you go out on the plane, this is when it all made sense to me.
Yeah. So we'll hit you with some knowledge. It was released, first of all, on the PS3 in Japan on December 17th, 2009.
Wow, okay.
Which is quite a while ago. It was then released worldwide on PS3 and Xbox 360 on March 9th, 2010. So that was, a good couple of months later. It was then released on Microsoft Windows, October 9th, 2014. And then this is unbelievable, released on iOS and Android, April 10th, 2015. That is how long this game has been going.
You just
for.
find that out before this, and that was pretty crazy.
That really does get me confused. We should also say it was, believe it or not, so that's when it came out, 2009. It began development in 2004.
Yeah, so
5 years.
5 years. What? 6 years before it was released on our shores. I can't remember anything about this game. I'm trying to play it. I'm going back through it now, but it is still.
Yeah, so we should say,
look at this game.
Yeah, so this engine that it's running on was developed not particularly for this game, but this was the first game that came out with this engine.
Yes.
It's called Crystal Tools, and it's the same for all three games. And they developed that in 2007, so actually they had 3 years of making this game before they even came up with the system which you're seeing right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they had to do some adaptations.
Definitely.
To actually get it to run on this system. We should say it has the Paradigm system, which was completely new for this game.
Definitely brings a better paced, I think, turn-based battling. I think that's one thing to me, is a lot of times, 10, for example, waiting turns can become a bit boring. Not saying the game's boring, but you know what I mean. And this just
waiting isn't fun. Let's just say that waiting in line isn't fun.
And this is like the perfect balance, I think, between. Someone's always doing something. There's always something to watch.
Yeah. Snow's epic pose.
Oh yeah. Troy Baker.
Troy Baker, yeah, one of the voice actors. So do you want to just give them a quick rundown of the story, or as best you can? Because what we should say, let's not put the negatives at the door right now. But what we should say is one of the negatives was that the story was quite convoluted.
Yeah, I mean, right, okay, so Lightning here. Wasn't she part of like an army or something, fighting for...
She was.
Cocoon?
Yeah, I wish I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway, the people you see here all have their focus to fulfill, and if they don't achieve their focus, they basically are destined to have a life in crystal.
Yeah, I think is it Lassie or Falsey?
It's one of those.
Yeah,
it's
I feel like I feel like we should tell the people.
I think it's foul. I think what you
obviously people out there will put in the comments exactly what it is. But I think this just cements the fact that the story was quite complicated. Really.
But don't get me wrong. When we were playing it at the time, we knew it. Yeah. That's the thing. If you bother to actually understand the storyline, you could make heads and tails of it. Well, tell me something. I've already said what I thought of the game. What do you think of the game?
I do think. It's at the time. I honestly do think it was arguably the best Final Fantasy game. I think it made strides in the right areas. I mean, it ran smooth, so there's no arguments with that. No one can say it was glitchy.
Well, as you said, it was the fastest selling Final Fantasy.
It was. I mean, yeah, it was the fastest selling in the history of the series. Not selling that it sold the most compared to 7 or 10.
Yeah.
But it was the fastest selling, and I think that's because it was the first next gen. We're calling next gen, not PS4 and Xbox One.
Just because I feel like it.
But this was the next gen Final Fantasy, and so it was HD graphics. You know, it ran at 30 FPS or 60 FPS, one of the two. Which obviously is just completely revolutionary for the time, which is why I think it was such an incredible game at the time.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So saying that, I mean, it averaged out at a good 8 out of 5, 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah. 8 out of 5. Whoa.
It got 130%.
That is some serious stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously it did fantastically well when it came to the reviews by critics. As I say, but there still was the issue that, I mean, critics said sometimes it was too linear. That was one of the issues.
Yes. I get that, but that's why I said it is linear in the game until you come to this place. And then, like, this is kind of, in a way, even though, it's a good 20, 30 hours in at least on the first run through. But then this is when the game opens up. This is when you've got your free roaming. This is when you decide what you want to do, whether you want to keep grinding, whether you want to continue with the storyline, exploring.
I think people's issue was that the story perhaps was too linear.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Personally, that's not something that I was ever I wasn't massively bothered by that.
No, I wasn't.
No, but I mean, that was a criticism laid at the feet of the a development team. We should probably say that the director of the team was the same for all three, which, if I may pronounce it, was Motomu Toriyama.
Sounds right to me. I
think that's right. The producer was Yoshinori Kitase. The writer was Daisuke Watanabe, which I think his name sounds really familiar. Yeah. I'm sure he's been involved with more. The
person for the character designs was the usual Tetsuya Nomura.
Yep. The composer was Masashi Hamazu.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Don't suppose we know if he's done any of the other.
I'm not sure if he's done any of the other ones, but we should just also mention that the music in these games are beyond incredible.
This is still... I mean, I've listened to a lot of music off Theorhythm, the Final Fantasy game, and this to me is still the best collection of songs in any one game in the Final Fantasy series, without a doubt. I mean,
yeah, definitely without a doubt.
The only one to me that even comes close is 13.2, surprisingly.
Yeah, we'll obviously move on next after this. Do you want to talk about the character designs? Because they were quite controversial at the time.
Yes, okay. I mean, I have my favourite three in.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything. I like these characters for different reasons. Look at her. So beautiful.
But just say, why was she controversial?
Well, for a start, she's a woman.
Yeah.
And at the time, something that was...
It had been dominated by
males. And obviously that's
now, obviously, Final Fantasy VI had a female main character.
Yes.
But for some reason, people were... I don't know why, but they were not up in arms, but I think they were confused by the choice of the main character.
And then in 10, I mean, you've kind of got a split. I mean, 10-2, you obviously got a female main character.
Yeah.
But you could argue that in 10, Tidus and Yuna are kind of almost tied. I mean, Tidus is the main character.
Yeah.
And you've seen that now with the fact that 15, all males.
Exactly, yes. I mean, yeah.
I mean, Snow is obviously, like, in some ways, in some people's minds, Snow will be the stereotypical main character.
Yeah, yeah. And then you've got the kind of, the childish kind of characters, you could say. You know, you've got Vanille and Hope being the more childish kind of characters.
But who actually, both of them, have some of the most adult themes in the storyline.
That's true. I mean, Hope loses... Spoilers.
Yeah.
Hope loses his mother.
If people haven't played it by now, they ain't playing it.
Yeah. So I mean, they really are given quite adult stories to actually play with.
Yeah. Let me see if I can just find like one different creature, and then.
Do you want to show them the Crystarium?
Yeah,
Even though I know this is maxed out.
All maxed out, but
we can at least try and see how it works.
This is probably the only thing about 13 I didn't like was you don't level up your character. Like there's no level next to lightning.
No.
You just level up the different sections of your Crystarium.
You can say it's similar to 10.
Yeah. So like what you do is you move along. So it would cost 18,000 points to get from here. This is on the highest strand.
Yeah.
And then that's what you earn. Blah blah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean...
So, but I'm saying you have different paradigms.
Yes, I mean, you can change them as much as you want. Commando is your stereotypical fighting stance. Ravager, Magic, Synergist, buffs, medic, obviously. You know, you've got the usual ones that would appear in different games, or like moves that would appear in different games. Let me just go and lose this guy, and then we'll probably edit into 13.2 when I clearly get owned. But just to show you the scale of some of the creatures in this game.
We can win if we stay focused.
No, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, this. I mean, even you're max level, aren't you? There's nothing more you can do.
There's nothing more I can do. The only thing I haven't done in this file is get a 6-strand weapon. A weapon that gives you. If you look at my ATB gauge, which is this blue bar going up now, I've got 5 slots.
Yeah, it could have gone up to 6.
It could have gone up to 6, and then that's how you win.
So we should say that you can also synthesize weapons and items as well to have better properties.
Yeah, and I think before I go, I need to just show you the. Obviously, we have.
Yeah, we should say that this was also a repeat function of the game as well. That it brought back summons.
Here comes Odin, who maybe we might talk about a bit more about in 13.2.
Yes.
Favourite summon Simon in this game? On the top of your head?
See, I don't know them by name, but I know that one of my favourite ones was Vanille's.
Oh yeah, they're like robot
it was like a robot with multiple arms.
My least favourite was Saz's. Saz's like car thing.
Yeah.
And I think maybe my favourite, unfortunately, was either... Not unfortunately for Hope, I liked Hope's, but Fangs, I don't like Fangs.
No, so well, Fang wasn't our favourite character, really, was she?
No,
just character design wise wasn't great. For me, she really just felt like a kind of a copy of Lightning.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of style wise.
But ended up being actually possibly the best character, most useful character. I mean, you need her in fights, whereas other characters you don't necessarily need.
Yeah.
Let's ride.
So we'll just watch this and then.
Trample 'em.
Well, I think that about
Storm is here.
wraps up
That's
13 in a nutshell.
Yeah. So let's move on to 13 too.
Yeah, definitely. So 13.2.
Yeah, get on that 13-2 grind. So we are here on the Arcite step, which is the same area that we were just in on 13, supposedly.
Yes.
But it's a bit rainy here today.
It is, and you can actually change the weather here, but that's a whole...
That's a whole different story. So let's start out by saying that 13.2 was obviously developed by Square Enix, but they had a little help from Tri-Ace, which is another company which are affiliated with Square Enix.
Yeah, as in they do like Last Remnant.
Yeah, they did that. We say it was released in Japan on December 2011, in North America January 2012, Australia February 2012, and in EU February 2012. So this was only 2 years after the release of 13. So they had a quick turnaround after the release of 13. I mean, it began development in March-April 2010. So that was only 2 months after the release of they. So they were very how should we put it? You know, on the bandwagon, trying to get 13 to just release straight away. And it sold 524,000 copies in Japan in 2011. That was the best-selling game of that year.
Really?
In Japan. Yep. And it sold 3 million to date worldwide of January 2013. So it has sold quite a few units. And obviously that is still we're 2 years off, so we don't know how many more it's sold since.
No, that's true.
So this game was received a little better than 13. I'm not saying 13 was received badly. Obviously, we've already heard about that.
Yeah.
But supposedly it was less linear, which it obviously is, because we'll get onto why it's less linear. Because the whole gameplay is about less linear.
Yes.
I mean, its average score was probably about 8 out of 10. But most surprisingly, which I only found out today, Famitsu.
Yeah, Famitsu.
The Japanese game review magazine gave it a perfect score, 40 out of 40. Which
Yeah, I mean,
this obviously in Japan was perfect. To them, they obviously just thought it can't get any better than this.
I mean, oh, hello. See if I can still beat this today.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought this was a really good game. Did I think it was as good as 13? No. Did I enjoy it more than most people I know? Yes. Okay, let's start with tell them about the characters, I think.
Yeah, so we have Noel Kreis, is technically, you could argue, half the main character, and then we have Sarah, who is Lightning's little sis.
Yes. Who is actually in a crystal stasis in the first game. The whole thing is trying to save Sarah.
So she's out of that now, which is part of the end of 13, which we won't go into that because that's all story. If you want to go and watch it on YouTube or play it, be our guest. So then we have them on a mission. A mission to do what, Adam?
The mission is to get all the fragments and piece together the puzzle of what is happening and why. And so you've got Noel at your disposal to do this. And I just died. Obviously, not playing it for years. Metal Catcher was Gigantua, whatever it's called.
Gigantua.
They will do that to you. But yeah, so I mean,
what to the design of the characters in comparison to 13?
I like them just as much as I did in the first game. I mean, I would put Noel up there as being kind of. I'd have Lightning and Snow, and then probably Noel.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Sarah's very, very similar to Lightning.
I mean, we should say actually that the people who worked on character design, producing, directing, music were all the same as a previous game.
I mean, to watch this is like a cool looking movie.
Yeah. And so we should also say that it was based off the same game engine as the previous game, which was Crystal Tools. So obviously by this point they'd obviously not perfected it, but they'd obviously advanced the same engine because it does look more polished.
Yeah. Biggest difference to me about 13.2 is the fact that you get to train up monsters, which is such a cool idea. I absolutely loved it. It's like, you know, we said it before, it's like mixing Pokemon with Final Fantasy. And the fact that you can choose kind of whichever monster you want to put in, obviously apart from it, a select few, but you can have, as we said earlier, Odin. You can have Odin in.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like the coolest thing.
That's pretty incredible.
I'll have another fight and then I'll kind of show you.
Do you want to talk about the leveling up system? Because that is different to 13.
I'll show you the leveling up system. Yeah, because you've actually got a level. So you can see next to Noel, 99, Rev 99.
You can also see next to the monster. They also have a level.
Now, that Go and Chocobo is actually fully maxed out.
Yeah.
That is the max level. So some level caps for monsters are different from others.
Yeah.
But, as you can see here, what's really cool is the images of the leveling up system. Right? So they're the images of Noel's weapons.
Yes.
And just like Sarah's, and that's all the images of the monsters. So it's very similar where you move on a dial, but you actually do go up levels rather than it kind of just being you moving around.
Yes.
And just increasing stats.
Give you something to aim for.
So I'll show you a bit of Sarah before we go on to Lightning Returns.
Yeah. So we should probably get onto the Historia Crux, really, the actual, the way you move around the world. Because this being basically a time-travelling storyline, like you're all travelling around time trying to collect fragments, 160 of them.
Got all those.
Which is saying actually you don't need to get all of them.
Oh, no, not to complete the game, no. Far from it.
So, because we should probably say that this game is what, just storyline on what you have to do is 50, 60 hours?
I think less. I mean, I would say probably 30, 40. I mean,
yeah.
But then it depends how much you're willing to put into it.
But if you want to do everything, it's at least 100 hours. So that being said, the way you travel around the world is you have different regions over time. Are we going to show them the Historia Crux?
I won't travel to anywhere else because of the loading, but I will show them the whole stuff. I think it's square start. Yeah, so here we are on our journey to the Historia Crux. Okay, so you can see all the different areas.
Yeah, so that gate matrix, which is also just a really kind of like, it's just a way of saying the places you can travel to.
If any of you have played 13, you will probably recognise the names. Not all of them, but most of them are from 13, but they've been re-envisioned from different time zones, obviously.
Yeah.
So I think that's 13.2, so that only leaves Simon.
Lightning Returns.
Lightning Returns.
The most hated of the series.
Let's get it on. Lightning Returns.
Lightning Returns. So here we are in the deserts of somewhere. I have no idea where. So I think we should first of all just mention that, again, Tri-Ace stepped in and helped with the development of this game. It was released in Japan on November 21st, 2013. In North America, February 11th, 2014.
Valentine's Day here, I remember it well.
Australia, February 13th, 2014. And in EU, February 14th, Lover's Day, 2014. And it was released on Windows in quarter 2 of 2015. So it was only recently released for Windows. It was the most poorly received of all the 13 games, with an average score of maybe 7 out of 10. The development started in 2012, so again, the same as the way 13 was developed quickly after 13. This was basically started a development straight away after 13 too. At the end of 2014, it had sold 1.4 million worldwide, so we're looking at a drastic drop in sales.
But then the production values would have been nowhere near as much as that of 13.
Yeah, so I think we start off by saying this game is world-driven. We
They really
heard
wanted
that
to push
phrase 1,000 million times during the development.
Yeah, and it
this
basically
game.
just meant that they were going to have, for the first time in like the Final Fantasy franchise, that it was going to be outside sources like Facebook and social networks that you
would somehow be involved with the game.
DLC and that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, we can't really show you any fights. The only enemy I have left on this game, because basically you can actually exterminate races of monsters.
Yeah.
And in this run through, I've beat every monster apart from this one in front of me that you see, the dragon.
Which is virtually impossible.
Yeah, I mean, I will show you him in a minute, but so Lightning Returns runs on a time. It's very time-based.
And you can see that time just beneath the mini-map.
And I've got 1 day left.
You have. So you have 13 days
in which to save the world.
You do.
Make people's hearts believe again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean the paradigm system is still there, but it's
just basically just changed names. It's now you have different garbs, different outfits to wear,
and depending on what you're wearing can depend on your moveset or basically what you can do.
Do you become a commander through that garb? Do you become a ravager through that garb? That's basically what it means. And we should say that the way in which they developed this world was completely different. I mean, I think they were saying it has like a Renaissance Italian kind of feel to it. So they completely changed art style for the game.
You can see the hood is still similar but different. It's definitely the most different one out of the three.
I mean, it still has an ATB gauge, which obviously is similar. But it has a few other systems thrown in. It has an overclock, which is that number 6 and the yellow around the outside, which gave you just basically a super set of moves. It just gave you another set of moves.
I mean, yeah. So Aaron, obviously, at the minute
you just dive right away.
I can't.
Get straight back in there, soldier.
Captain, this talk over fast.
So I mean, really, story-wise, I personally think it ended Lightning's story quite well. Personally, I thought it gave quite a nicely rounded.
Yeah,
just to her.
That's one thing I will say. If you do enough good things while the game lasts, you get a special ending at the end, which is nice, and it's very nice.
It's just a reward, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, and you get to see Lightning kind of as herself, not as a soldier, not as this god. You know, as a very powerful human being, which she is. Well, she's a god now in this one.
I think that's the thing. I mean, during the previous games, I know in 13.2 you didn't see her much. She still was involved. She was the god or goddess for that game.
Yeah.
So what's really interesting to see is just the development of the character, because really that's what I think we could summarise 13 being. It's really you are following this one character and her turmoil, and I think Lightning Returns does a good job actually of just ending that. Yes, it may be a bit linear. It's not the best story, but I still think it's a perfectly serviceable game for what is actually quite an incredible series of games.
And I think that about wraps up our retrospective of 13 before I die. I'd never used that decoy, by the way. Just
very
I
nice.
have to see what it looks like. Yeah, so let us know what you guys thought to this video, and depending on what you guys think, hopefully we'll do some more on different games.
So guys, that about wraps it up.
See you guys later.
Bye bye.